Canada feels like a Kakistocracy.
Does the minister know what an RPAL is?
No, Minister.
I do not.
Moving forward on gun control in real ways, while the Conservatives cozy up and the American gun lobby, we continue to step up and keep the Canadians safe. Let them bring assault weapons back to our streets. We'll keep Canadians safe.
Wow, is he ever losing control of himself? Oh my goodness.
Besides these clips, there are some real reasons why Canada feels like a Kakistocracy. Whether it's bipartisan political appointments, woke optics over real solutions, scandals, a bloated bureaucracy, or promises that our economic conditions will recover after 10 years in decline but never do, this is why Canada feels like a Kakistocracy. In the private sector, appointments are usually based on merit, unless there's a DEI requirement. The best person gets the job based on characteristics and not identity or friendship. Unfortunately, in Canada, cabinet ministers are often chosen for loyalty and not merit, and seemingly there's a form of cronyism in the current cabinet. Take Tim Hodgson, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. Hodgson worked beside Carney as CEO of Goldman Sachs Canada and worked with Carney at the Bank of Canada, having a relationship going back over 20 years. Fast forward to this election, Carney recruited Hodgson to run in a safe Liberal riding, then was granted a high-profile cabinet position with no prior experience in politics. But to give him credit, he does have more experience in his sector of energy and natural resources than some other cabinet ministers have in their positions. Enter Gary Anand-Sanderi. Despite being the Minister of Public Safety, he didn't know what an RPAL is, Restricted Possession and Acquisition License. This on top of his conflict recusal from files related to Sri Lankan Tamil terrorist groups. The Tamil terrorist group was notorious for suicide terrorism and assassinations before their defeat in 2009. He also previously fiercely criticized Canada's immigration system and security agencies, particularly for their treatment of Tamil refugees. This has all led to several criticisms of his ability to lead Canada's public safety and national security agenda, making some question whether he was appointed based on merit or to reach an ethnic quota. Partisan appointments are only one piece of the puzzle as to why Canada feels like a Kakistocracy. There's also the aspect of symbolism and woke optics over real solutions.
Common sense Conservatives will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
Campaign and government priorities usually revolve around symbolism, such as logos, slogans, and virtue signaling. Just as a disclaimer, they're not all bad things in my view, but it can lead to many broken promises. Real issues often go unresolved, and the impact of this can be felt in everyday life. Take the Canada Strong promise that both the Liberals and the Conservatives campaigned on. The Liberals campaigned on interprovincial trade, nation-building infrastructure projects, stronger sovereignty and defense, and domestic travel incentives such as the Canada Strong Pass. So, what actually happened? Interprovincial trade. Bill C-5, the One Canadian Economy Act, passed, but provinces resisted, and a majority of trade barriers will remain in place. Nation-building infrastructure projects. No funding commitments and pushback from Indigenous groups threatening further delays. Stronger sovereignty and defense. Defense expenditures remain static, no base expansions, no wage increases for Canadian Armed Forces, no material upgrades announced. Domestic travel incentives. The Canada Strong Pass became a cosmetic rather than a contribution to economic strength or unity. Campaigns are filled with promises that do not get kept, further adding to the feeling of incompetence in the government and catalyzing the feeling of living in a Kakistocracy. Unfortunately, it is practically impossible to hold elected officials accountable. The best we get is question period, but it's called question period for a reason and not answer period. This leads to the third reason why Canada feels like a Kakistocracy: scandals. There are many, such as the SNC-Lavalin scandal, where Trudeau and his staff pressured Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould to help SNC-Lavalin, a major Quebec engineering firm, avoid criminal prosecution for bribing Libyan officials. The Ethics Commissioner found a violation, but no prosecution followed, and SNC-Lavalin has since rebranded to Atkins Realis. Other scandals that followed with no consequences include ArriveCan, the basic app that costed $60 million taxpayer dollars, where GC Strategies and many subcontractors made enormous profits despite minimal work.
75% of the contractors did no work at all, but they did buy whiskey and other treats for the top Liberal government officials. Again, won't the Prime Minister admit the app is just like him? Not worth the cost, not worth the corruption.
The Green Slush Fund scandal, where $59 million was handed out to ineligible contractors, 186 board decisions involved conflicts of interest, and $330 million in funds flowed to companies associated with board members. It wouldn't be possible to go through every scandal in the Canadian government over the past decade while keeping this video under an hour long, But there was many. Similarly to how there are many scandals, there are also many bureaucrats, approximately 370,000, which is about 25% of Canada's workforce that is in the public sector. For having 370,000 bureaucrats, Canada has exceptionally slow and incompetent public services that fail at basic delivery. Immigration is backlogged, hundreds of thousands of applications are untouched, which is really a symptom of our rampant and disastrous immigration policy. It takes hours of waiting to get a passport renewed, and sometimes months before you receive your passport. Canada's bloated bureaucracy has yearly salaries payable from the federal government of $60 billion, while still being very inefficient, having prolonged delays, overregulation, and excessive hierarchy issues. Partisan political appointments, woke optics over real solutions, scandals, and an incompetent bloated bureaucracy are some of the many reasons why Canada feels like a Kakistocracy. Let me know what you think below.